Matthew 5:9 says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be known as children of God." When Christ said that, he must have meant that in heaven they'll be known as the children of God, because they aren't known that on earth. Not anymore. I say this because if you ask a random person on the street what comes to their mind when they hear peacemaker, you won't get children of God. And if you ask them what comes to their mind when they hear the words children of God, they'll likely tell you something like hateful, fear-mongering, prejudiced, racist, homophobic, and warmongering. Peacemaker will be the last thing that comes to their mind, if it comes at all. This is because the people that claim to be the children of God, that claim that title, they're the farthest thing from it. The evangelical fundamentalists, the Bible beaters, the ones so proudly and loudly calling themselves the children of God, they aren't peacemakers. They have no interest in peace. They willingly and openly stoke the fires of hate and cheer on their so-called holy wars. They don't want peace. They've made that obvious. They want blood. They want absolute rule and power. They want those that don't agree with them to either be subjugated or annihilated, finding peace only when there is no one else to oppose them. They call themselves the children of God and are loud about it. So loud that people believe them, even though they're in direct opposition to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They are not peacemakers. They are not Christians. They are would-be conquerors and tyrants, desperate to wet their teeth on the blood of those they deem beneath them. This is evident in how they treat their fellow man, and how they revel in the cruelty they subject them to. Even some of the ones that they call friends. They are not of God, and they are certainly not of Christ, but they don't care. They've never cared. They don't care for anything but themselves and the power they hold. They like the way it feels to be cruel. They like the way it feels to see people squirm and run from them, a high they can't help but chase. They care only for themselves, only banding together to preserve their selfishness, their power, and their cruel ways. They are not children of God. But I know what they are. If they are children of anything, they are the offspring of the devil. They are the children of Satan who have sold their soul to him time and time again and will continue to do so willingly. And maybe even sold is too easy of a word to use. It's giving them too much credit, as many of these have followed Satan for free, have followed him asking nothing in return, willingly choosing hate and evil just because they like it, not because anything great was offered. This has become even more evident now, as we are being dragged into yet another forever war. More innocents will die because of what they wanted. But they don't see them as innocents. They don't see them as people, whether because of their religion, their beliefs, or the color of their skin. Maybe just because of where they live. But God is not the God of America. God is the God of the world, of humanity. He is not the God of one country or one nation. And if you believe that he is, if you believe different than that, then you need to stop calling yourself a Christian. You need to stop believing in any of this. Go create your own religion. Don't claim to be part of this one. The only time God was part of a singular nation was back in the Old Testament. But even that changed as his power or his sight grew. As their understanding of what God actually was grew. But that nation he was the nation of Israel. The people think, oh, but isn't that the people we're supposed to be protecting now? The people we're going after now? No. Not the state of Israel, not the Israelis, but the nation of Israel. Who were the nation of Israel? Was it these borders that were drawn in 1947 after World War II? Because the world as a whole felt bad because of the genocide we ignored. Don't forget that part. We founded a nation. We took away someone's land and gave it to another because we felt bad that we ignored an awful, horrific Holocaust. And ignored it only until we got pulled into that war. And even while fighting it, ignored it until we couldn't no longer. That's not God's nation. But those are his people. But his people were in many nations. His people were in Germany. His people were in Poland. His people were in Russia. His people were in England. His people were in France and Spain and Turkey. His people were all over Italy. His people were all over Europe. His people were in America. His people were in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia. Probably some in Antarctica due to the science teams over there. And all nations and all continents. But the nation of Israel is not talking about the state that was created. The nation of Israel is talking about the children of Israel. And that is not a title. Something that was created. That is quite literal. For they used to be called the children of Jacob until God told him to change his name, if you believe the story. And if you don't, why are you here? His name was Jacob. They were the children of Jacob, and he told him to change his name to Israel. And they are his literal children, his literal descendants, not an actual nation. And then you can get into everything that happened after. The genocides and war, which actually didn't happen, according to archaeological record. There was no mass genocide. At least not in the ways that it was taught. So what did happen? We know there were nations. There were Jewish nations. There were the ones in Judah. Well, when these were being written, it was being written during a horrible time of oppression. During the Babylonian exile. And they were trying to centralize their own culture, their way of life, and their religion, believing that it was going to disappear. So they decided to write it all down for the first time. And in doing so, created a fantasy, a revenge fantasy, where they could lash out. Not only they, but their God would lash out and hurt the people that opposed them. Even before even certain peoples even opposed them. And when you read the book, it names all these nations, some of which didn't exist at the time, some of which kept existing when they said they weren't, so on and so forth. Because it's not real. It's a revenge fantasy, and one where they couldn't point directly to the Assyrians, the Neo-Babylonians, who were persecuting them. Because if they saw it, they would have gotten rid of it. Thrown it away as anti-Babylonian propaganda. And that wouldn't have served the purpose of maintaining their culture and their religion. It wouldn't have helped them, so they had to be sneaky. And in that, when you read, you can tell the multiple writers, because not all the writers believe in what they said. Not all the writers agree with the horrific images in violence and genocide. But they all understood why. They all understood they were lashing out. They all understood the revenge fantasy. So they gave them grace and compassion, knowing that the people they would tell it to would understand. They'd be able to read between the lines, not realizing thousands of years from then that people wouldn't be able to do that, and then use those words to justify their own atrocities. We used to be able to understand the oppressed anger, but then still tell them no, that there was a better way, there was a right way. And now we just hurt the oppressed. Now we just kill them. And then when they lash out, we use that as an excuse to do even worse to them. And then we quote the Bible. God is not there for the state of Israel. God is there for the world. If you are a Christian, that is what you believe. That is what you are supposed to believe. And if you do not believe it, you are not a Christian. Christianity, an offshoot of Judaism, which then turned into something greater, saying that God is for all, that Jesus fulfilled the law, and through his sacrifice, through his blood, we are all one. We are all together in this. We are not to be warmongers. We are not to be hateful. We are not to be evil or vile. We are not to split each other up. We are not supposed to commit genocides or help in genocides. We are supposed to stand against it. That message of peace was so strong in the beginning that there were people that would just let themselves be killed. Let themselves be trampled and run over by Roman oppressors. They wouldn't do anything. They wouldn't fight back. And a lot of innocent people were killed because of that, because they took the message too literally, not realizing that in the same message, they are taught to stand up, not for just themselves, because Christianity is a religion beyond selfishness, but stand up for each other, for the people. When Jesus told you to turn the other cheek when you were hit, he says when you were hit. But what did he say? What would happen if someone took away the innocence of children? He said it'd be better for them to tie themselves to a boulder and throw it and themselves into the sea than it would be to cross Jesus. The Prince of Peace said that. A threat, saying it'd be better to kill yourself than to cross him, for it would be worse for you. Everyone likes to point to him flipping tables. I like to point to that. That is a threat of something worse than death. It'd be better for you to die than to come across Jesus if you take away the innocence of a child. That is a direct threat from the Prince of Peace. And we forget it. So instead, we decided to turn away from our pacifist ways and then go into warmongering, not realizing that what was said there, even as the Gospels were put together, told us to be both. Well, not warmongers, but told us to be vigilant, to be defensive, to uplift the people around us, our community, and also the people of the world. The story of the Good Samaritan is not just about a man who takes care of one who was unclean, one that everyone else turned away from. That man was risking his life and his family to help this other person. He was risking violence, not just shame from a community. We are supposed to uplift each other. We are supposed to help each other. And each other means everyone, not just in our close-knit communities, but across the world. So how is bombing a country illegally, legal or legal, still bombing a country that has done nothing wrong? They have not attacked us. They have not gone after us. We have done this only to start a war that we will regret. If we wanted to truly help those people, we would help them, not kill them. But we don't care, do we? This nation doesn't care about actually helping. We just want blood. And blood they'll get. Blood they will get unless we do something about it. For there is good news. It all sounds dour, but it's not. There is good news. Just because that these people have sold themselves to the devil doesn't mean they can't be redeemed. We talk about selling souls and all that, thinking like it's a one-and-done thing, but that's something that doesn't happen in the Bible. Something that was made up later, usually as a way to explain something. Figurative language, colorful language as I've just used to explain something, not a literal sell or sale. But just because they've sold themselves doesn't mean they can't be redeemed. They can be better people. They can see the light, but they won't if we do nothing. While they may be warmongers, while they may be hateful, we aren't peacemakers. You aren't a peacemaker by simply not being a warmonger. By simply not being what these people are does not make you the opposite. You have to be active in making peace, not just refusing to do anything under the guise of so-called pacifism. And by the way, pacifist groups have fought in the past and have used violence. They have done things that would be considered violent. One of the biggest pacifist Christian groups in the United States, the Quakers, was heavily involved in the Underground Railroad. They broke laws. They protested. They did things that would have gotten them killed, and in some places did fight back with violence. But if you have the ability to stop something from happening, if you see someone being attacked in the street and have the ability to stop it, and I want to stress have the ability, but you don't do anything because you're a man of peace, I want you to know that you're no such thing. You're not a man of peace. You're a coward at best and an enabler at worst. You have done nothing to maintain peace. Only your peace, only your comfort. We are not called to bring comfort to ourselves. We're called to bring love and peace. And peace is not tranquility. Peace is not your personal comfort. And furthermore, I don't know how anyone can be personally comfortable right now with everything going on as things get worse and worse and worse and worse, and people keep dying and crying and screaming. How do you have peace? How do you sleep? But let it be known that God isn't calling all of us to fistfight in the street, for the main reason that not all of us can. But secondly, violence is a tool to be used only when needed. Not just going out there fighting and shooting and stabbing and everything, for we're no better than them. But don't misconstrue that thinking that you can't do those things or shouldn't do those things when needed. Because you're a man of peace. Oh, I can't do this because it's illegal. I can't do this because it's wrong. I can't do this because it would be shame. I can't do this because it would get my hands dirty. That would be against God. It is not against God. He is calling you to do it. But while you stand by and do nothing, people die. Children die. And your own peace, your own comfort isn't maintained either. Because if you're anyone like me, anything like me, you're being kept up at night. You're crying. You're praying. You're wondering why this is happening, how we have allowed this to happen. So what are you a man of peace for? Because you're not. But being a coward is not being scared. I'm scared, but I'm speaking up. Speaking up, putting this out there, and if anyone listens to it, someone could read into it, could claim something, could lie, and I could be investigated. There's people that have been investigated for saying things. I've not called anyone to act in violence, but I'm telling you not to be afraid of it. Now, if you have an entire family you have to look after, and if you die or be imprisoned or hurt or anything, and that could jeopardize them, then I understand that. Or if you're disabled and don't have the ability to do so many things, I understand that, but you have the ability to do something. Figure out what that is. We are to protect those who can't protect themselves, and there are many ways that each and every one of us can do that. As Christians, we're to stand against hate and injustice, and we're to do that. We are to stand against the children of Satan, and there are so many ways. Protest, outreach, donations, vote, food drives, use your voice, etc. But you have to do something. Ignoring the problem only makes it worse. It only allows it to grow. Hate must be pruned and weeded out. It must be opposed. Sometimes it must be opposed violently, or what they will assume at violence. Sometimes you'll have to scream at somebody. Other times, you just give them a hug. Other times, you'll bake them a pie. Being kind to your enemies, treating them well, giving them dignity is not the same thing as not fighting against them. When it is the enemies of a group, an enemy of the oppressed, the enemy of those who cannot fend for themselves, you can still treat them well. And they will be confused by it, just like it says in Corinthians. Your kindness will be like pouring hot rocks upon their head. They will be so confused. But leading that example, you'll show them. They'll be even more confused. Like, you fought against me. You fought hard. You thought You would have killed me if I had not stopped in battle. But then I did stop, and then you took me in, you fed me, you gave me drink, you gave me clothes. How can you do this? I would not have offered you the same thing. And then there's your end. And then you lead by that example, and you tell them what we're for, and you tell them what we stand for, and what Christ actually is. And from that they may change, and you may have turned an enemy into an ally. But what if they don't? What if they stay disillusioned? What if they stay in this state they're in? Then they stay that way. That is where we're better. But what would they do if the tables were turned? They would kill you. They would torture you. They would hurt you. We're better because we don't do that. But in a battle of life and death, if you're forced to have to take someone's life in defense on the battlefield, forced to have someone fall on your sword, that doesn't make you a bad person. Wanting them to fall on your sword, enjoying it, and going out there, that makes it wrong. That makes you a murderer. That makes you the same as them, because they enjoy the torture. They enjoy the pain. They enjoy the cruelty that they inflict on others. For any violence that's to be used is a tool to make things stop. But once they stop, you stop doing it. And it takes all kinds. It takes all kinds to prune the hate and weed it out. And it won't all be violent. People hear violence, they think it'll all be these wars and things, which I'm speaking out against. And they don't realize that, no, it means to not be afraid of it. Because they will use it against you, and you will have to stand up. You will have to do things. You think that you can't. You think that you won't. But I know damn well if they came against your family, you would. And Jesus said, we are all family, so why are you not standing up for all? But some of these people are young. Some of these people don't know better. They've been brainwashed. Some of the people, the violence will change them. Others, a pie will change them. A hug will change them. Being treated like a human being. I can treat you like a human being while fighting against you tooth and nail. I don't have to see you as something lesser. You're just wrong. That's it. But they view us as lesser. They view us as something subhuman. It's all in the Nazis' handbook. And speaking of them, if we don't weed out hate, if we don't stop this, it will consume you, your family, your friends, and everything you've known, because we have example after example showing that ignoring and staying in our bubbles does nothing but make things worse. Look at the Nazis. The Germans tried to ignore them, and what happened? They took over. Many Jewish people tried to ignore their madness, thinking if they just kept their heads down and followed the law, minded their own business, that they would be okay in the end. They weren't. Some even thought they could change things by being an example to them, a good Jew to the Nazis. And they all ended up in the same places, either forced to run from their country and their homes, or sent to death camps, or simply killed in the streets. There were no good Jews to the Nazis. The only good one was a dead one, and they made that very clear. They made it clear in their laws, they made it clear in their policy, they made it clear in the books that they wrote, in the speeches they gave. Everyone knew what was coming long before it did. But in action from everyone, let it rise up. It's not blaming the victims. The victims did what they thought was best. They thought the only thing they could because they were molded. They were, groomed to think a certain way. They'd seen many administrations go and pass. They thought they got through one oppressive era to another. They could just do the same thing. Keep your head down, you'd be fine. But that's a lie that's been told again and again and again, thinking it will work, and it doesn't. At least it didn't for 6 million of them. And that's just counting the Jewish people, not counting all the others that suffered in the Holocaust, not counting all the ones that suffered in the war. The millions and millions of bodies that were racked up because of evil. The difference this time is we're the bad guys. The United States is not on the good side. It certainly isn't on the side of the Lord. People are scared of World War III. People are scared of war, period, and they should be. The only time a war should be started is if you have to. In terms of World War II, I do think the United States, I think every country in the world should have stood up to the Nazis when they found out what was happening with the Holocaust. Not because of some invasion or this or that or any other treaty. They should have stopped them before the Holocaust got going. But they didn't. Even the United States turned away refugee ships, sent them back to die. We cannot do that. As Christians, we cannot do that. We see atrocities. We have to end them. We have to stop them. We have to be the voice of reason, the voice of love. But love is not soft. Love is not a pushover. Being a pushover and a people pleaser is not the same as love. It's not the same. To let evil run rampant doesn't mean that you stone everybody you disagree with. No. Execution is vile, evil, and inhumane, and always has been. In any form. But when it comes to a war or a battle, you fight until one side gives up, and when they give up, you stop shooting. And if they want to act like nothing happened, if they want to draw up a treaty or this or that, they want to go on and live better lives, then you let them, because that is the best outcome. We have not been attacked. We have not been hurt. We have been led into this. They're trying to manufacture our consent. They want us to cheer this on. But thankfully the people are not having it. For many different reasons. Some saying it's illegal, which it is. But it shouldn't matter even if they'd found a legal way. Even if they'd made something up, it shouldn't matter. Because it is against human law. It's against our hearts. It's against God to do this. What has Iran done? We could talk about all their atrocities, sure. Is that worth bombing them over? Oh, but they treat gay people this and trans people that. Okay, so does the United States of America. I find it so strange to talk about how a country treats its lessers, its minorities, when we are doing the same thing. And we would do worse if we could get away with it. I think it's so strange. Well, look what they're doing over there. Isn't that so bad? Shouldn't we stand up against them? Oh, yes, we should, Mr. Senator. Didn't you just vote for a bill to do what they're doing? You would love to have executions of these people. You would love for women to not have rights. You would love for all these things because you voted for these things. You stand for these things. You are these things. Why? Then is Iran different? Is it because of their control of oil? Is it because of... well, really anything. Is it because they're brown? Is that it? But we could stand up to those oppression. We can do that as the United States. We can have a front. Or how about as a people? How about as Christians we could stand up and say this is wrong? And we could do that. And we can actually make great changes. You think Christianity couldn't have a wave over this world and change things in countries, including Iran? We're a religion of over 2 billion people. Think about how many people, how much money the Catholic Church has. Do you think that they couldn't make some negotiations? They couldn't lean on countries? They couldn't lean on people to change things for the better? We could do that. We absolutely could do that. In the last episode I was talking about how much money could be raised by just a small group of people. Multiply that by billions. Multiply a fighting force by billions. Anything by billions. And all of a sudden, we realized we could quite literally move mountains by ourselves. But then with God on our side, We're unstoppable. But we have to actually do something. As James said, faith without works is meaningless. You say you believe in God, so what? So does the devil. Belief means nothing. If all you want to do is get to heaven, well, congratulations, that's already been decided. Christ died for all of us. His blood spilt for us. That's already been decided. Our mission was not to do good things so we could get to heaven. Our mission, our objective, the commission we were given was to go out and spread the good news and make a better world. So why isn't the world better? I would still be disheartened. It would still bother me. But it would bother me less if the world was being made worse and it wasn't in the name of Christ. Because at least then, you could say, well, we're not doing it. At least then, it wouldn't be these hypocritical people who've never read the book or care about the book. Yet they demand that it should be in schools, or we should have the commandments here and there. They don't know what those commandments mean, and they've broken all of them. They break all 10 of them daily. They make up new things to break. They want their power. They want their money. They want to rule. But if you're a Christian, or really of any of the Abrahamic faiths, your want isn't to rule, for only one rules. We are under the rule of God. Why then do we think we know better? Why then do we want to rule? There's lots of conflicting things in the Bible. Lots of conflicting things in these faiths. But as long as Christianity is concerned, what's happening right now is evil. What's happening right now with these administrations is evil and has been for a long time, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Racism is evil. Homophobia is evil. Islamophobia is evil. Xenophobia is evil. Hating your fellow man is evil. It just is. And voting to take their rights away is evil. Wanting to hurt them is evil. Wanting to kill them is evil. And is so out of revenge. It is so out of vengeance. But they're not wanting it out of revenge or vengeance. They're just wanting to do it. I can understand if they were hurt and wanted to lash out. It would still be wrong, but at least you could go, hey, you're going to be okay. We can care for you. We can get you help. We understand you want to lash out. That these people hurt you. But not everybody's like that. But no. They just want to hurt people. Because they want to feel better. They want to feel higher. They want to be better than someone. We're no better than anyone. No one is better than you, but no one is lower than you. We are all human. Even the greatest man is lower than the lowest of the angels. All your riches, all your gold, all your kingdom and your power mean nothing in the face of God. Could wipe it away in the blink of an eye. And if you think that you're somehow better than that, I want you. If you think that you're somehow better than that you don't actually need Him, yet you will claim that you do. You will claim how godly you are, how Christian you are, how so full of love and light and the Holy Spirit and all this that you are and all this. But then you will claim all these other things, all these racist, evil things. You'll denounce science. You'll denounce people, your own family. You'll disown them for things that they can't control. You aren't of love. Because people who actually do love keep people around even when they shouldn't. Even when they should have cut contact for their own health. People with love are constantly making excuses, constantly trying to figure out a way to make someone better who doesn't want to, who will not change. But I said earlier that they can change. They can. They still have to make that choice. But they won't do it because of one person. But as a group, They may be forced to change. At the very least, be forced to hide certain feelings. Be forced into shame. Be forced to not actually act out on their evil tendencies. And if that's as close as we can get to them actually being a better person, then that's what we have to deal with. But that's better than the alternative, which is ignoring them, letting them get worse, form a coalition, and then start bombing other countries. Bombing anyone. Trying to goad ourselves into another forever war that we don't need to be in. Putting our people at risk and their people at risk because they see themselves better. They think they won't get hurt. And if you think that you won't get hurt, if you think that you're somehow different, or that your family's somehow different, that you actually don't need that, and you secretly think that, oh, you don't need God like that, or whatever, I don't, because I know these people, because if they actually believe the way that I did, that they do believe in a higher power, believe you me, they would not be saying or doing these things. I don't care how much they say or how much they preach. They do not actually believe that God is there looking over them. Because if they did, they would not say these things. They would not do these things. If they believed in a literal interpretation of the Bible, they would not do these things. They'd be afraid to go outside. But I also know that they themselves are cowards. They're just cowards that have no self-control. Cowards that stimulate themselves with violence. They're afraid of the world. They're afraid of change. I'm autistic. I never understood the idea of being afraid of change. Or being afraid of progress. I'm afraid of routines changing. I'm afraid of certain things I've set up changing. I hate moving. I know that. But if you told me, hey, you have to move, but because of it, a lot of good things are going to happen. And like people's lives will get better, including your own, then I'll move. I will bitch and I will moan about it. But I'll move. I'll complain because it's causing me pain in the moment. And people will ask, why are you moving if it causes you pain? It's like, because I was told doing it would be better for the people around me and for me. That is a net positive. And I will get used to it. And I will make the new place my own. Because I care about other people. I care about my fellow man. I actually care about the words of Christ. But these people think themselves higher than others. They think themselves higher almost than God. And they're putting a man, any man, over God is insane. And yet they call themselves Christians. And they think that they're powerful, that they'll be spared, this or that or whatever. Until the tornado shows up. You do not know fear. I'm not going to put it in terms of war because most Americans don't know what war is. We've never had something touch our soil in a very long time. We don't really know what war is. And fighting a war is different than a war coming to your home. But the only ones that have any reference for it are those who have fought and come back. But in those other countries, they don't get to leave the war zone when they're done fighting. Or when they're on shore leave. Because the war is on their shores. It's on their home. It's in their country. The city that got blown up was theirs. They may not have anything to go home to. They may not have any moment to rest. But in America, we do have something that the rest of the world doesn't. And that is the most extreme weather on the planet. But everyone thinks that they can't be touched, or they don't fear nature. They don't fear God until the tornado shows up and is bearing down on their house. And all of a sudden, they know fear. And they're praying to everything they can think of. But they said they would stand up, that they would take it like a man. They said they'd do this, or I wouldn't be afraid because I have faith in the Lord. And then you see the funnel. And then you see it's coming. And it's not going to stop. And you're crying and you're weeping and you don't know what to do. Turns out all that was talk. And by the way, crying and weeping and freaking out over a natural disaster is a completely normal response. It's not normal, though, if you said you wouldn't do that. Somehow being separate from that makes you better. And then when you survive the disaster, you survive the worst case scenario, but everything you have is gone. All your riches now mean nothing. Your house reduced to nothing but a slab. And then the people, the very people that you said were beneath you, that you thought yourself greater than, come out of the woodwork to help you, to feed you, to clothe you, and to rebuild your house. And then ask for nothing in return. And then somehow you still go back to your old ways, and that's something I'll never understand. But you secretly know that those people are important and aren't beneath you. Otherwise, you would have accepted them. You wouldn't have let them help you. You just don't care. But some people will. Some people will care. Some people will change. And regardless, those people doing the most Christian thing in the world, which is coming out of the woodwork to help people of a natural disaster, who've experienced the worst thing possible, coming out to help rebuild. They ask for nothing in return. They are doing the Lord's work, whether they know it or not, because they don't care about it being the Lord's work. They're doing it because it's right, which is what we are commissioned to do. You're commissioned to rebuild, to help, to feed. We're commissioned to stand against this. To stand against a leader who wants nothing but evil, time and time again. We have to stand against him, his followers, and his ilk. They will be the end of you, your family, your friends, and everything you've known. If you think it won't touch you, it will. Because speaking of that weather, they're defunding the weather service. That's not a Christian thing to do, nor is it a logical thing to do. They're taking away from the very things that will help you. They're getting rid of the people that will help you. So when one of those cyclones, those whirlwinds of terror, tears through your suburb and takes away everything that you've ever known, no one will be there to help you, including the government. And you will just have to sit there and suffer, and you will look up and pray to God and ask, why did this happen? And he will tell you, because you made it happen. This is what you get. You wanted this. And because you wanted it, I have given it to you. But for those of us who just set aside, who didn't want this, but didn't do anything to go against it, he will say, why didn't you fight against it? You had the choice. You could have done something and chose to do nothing. So if you feel convicted by this message, good. Search that conviction. Pray to God. See what you need to do. And get up and do something. But if you don't feel convicted by this, that means you're already doing something. That means you're already doing what he wants. But if you feel convicted and you don't know what to do, or you think that you can't because of disease or disability, so on and so forth, like I said before, we are not all called to do the same thing. We're called to do different things. I know what being disabled is like because I am disabled. I know what being unemployed is like and having no money because I'm currently unemployed and have no money. I know what all these things are like. But the things that he needs from us, that he wants us to do, and that the world needs us to do, are not all the same. Using your voice is one. Talking to your family is another. Saving one person's life could be enough. And saving, I don't mean leading them to Christ. I mean actually saving their life. Knowing of someone who's in a bad situation that you can get them out of. So you do it. No strings attached. You help them. That is what God wants. And then you have the idea, what if we do this together? What if we band together and start doing this as a group? So you create a Discord or a Reddit or whatever, and you come together and talk to people in your church, whatever. And you find people who aren't even Christian, who don't believe in any God or anything, but they believe in the same ideas. Then you work with them too. And now next thing you know, we have a commune or a coalition. We have something. We have a force, a fighting force for good, for change, for progress, for peace. And then what happens when we achieve peace? Then we work on maintaining it. How do we maintain it? By making sure there's no reason to revert from it. When people have their needs met, there's not a whole lot of fighting that happens. When someone tries to stand up and go, we should do this, blah, 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 we should hurt these people for no reason, you stand against them with violence if necessary. You shout them down. You don't say you don't let them have a chance to take hold. You don't see their views as just as good. When they're spewing nonsense, when they're spewing conspiracies, when they're spewing things that are just not factual. When someone says 2 + 2 = 5, you don't sit there and say, well, they deserve to be and have a debate and all that. No, they're just wrong. They get to shut up and sit down. Or leave. And then after that, you send someone else to go talk to them to go, hey, are you okay? Do you need help? Because even the worst of us need help. Because they don't get that help, they just get worse. I believe this even for people like serial killers. Because there's a reason they were serial killers. You study why. You find out what happens, what makes them tick. And then, hey, you may not be able to save that particular person. You may not be able to change them, but the study can help you save others. The next thing you know, we find out what makes these kind of serial killers. We spot them in children. We stop them. We get them the help they need. Guess what? They didn't grow up to kill 40 people. And because of that, not only have you saved the killer's life, you have saved 40 people's lives and then the lives of their families and have stopped a line of suffering that expounds upon itself. But no. And I know right now we're scared. Right now we don't know what to do. And this doesn't mean don't take time for yourself. We all need time. God understands our minds and our brains. He made us. He does not expect you to do something or to change the world while you're confined to a mental hospital or confined to a bed due to some illness, some cancer, some disease. Or when you literally don't have the energy to move. This is not like an inspirational story where someone comes and goes, well, I did all these great things, so why can't you? No, that's manipulation. Yes, they were able to do those great things because of luck and also because they probably had some funding from somewhere. Had other people that believed in them. But the way they spin it is that you can do it by yourself, and that's not true. None of us can do anything by themselves. The only thing you can really do alone is die. Because you're not born alone. You weren't created alone. It takes 2 people to make a person. And when you're born, you're not born alone. Your mother is there. And the people, the midwives, the hospital staff, the nurses, the doctors, depending on how you're born, they're there. No matter what, you are not born alone. You were not created alone. And you do not go through this life alone. And even when you die, you're not alone. Because if you believe in the Lord, He is there with you. You do nothing alone. So don't buy into that, we just have to do this alone. We just got to pull ourselves up. No. If your brain literally can't function right now because it's being overwhelmed, get the help. Take a day. Take as many days as you need. I deal with burnout. I'm currently in a burnout. And the doctors don't know how long it'll last. Depending on how hurt you were. But even in these states of burnout, when I do have these moments of lucidity, When I have these moments where I can do something, I go and write things like this. I use my voice. I put it out there, knowing that someone might hear it and it might change their lives. It might help them, because that is worthy. That is good. I wish it was helping millions of people. Wish it was helping billions of people. I wish I was some superstar that everybody listened to. Not for my own worth, but because the message would get out to those people. But I'm not. And maybe that happens in the future. Maybe it doesn't. But I know this. I know that there's one person that might hear it. And if there is one person who might hear this message or any other message, and that might stop them from hurting themselves, it might change their life. It might change their thoughts. It might make them think something different that stops them from doing something bad. Then that is worth it. Even if it just makes them smile for a bit, which is why I do the other things that I do. The streaming and the gaming and the funny stuff and the stupid stuff. Because that helps people. I'm doing something. I'm doing what I know that I can do. And I can do it well. And it might help at least one person, and if so, good. But that doesn't mean my job is done. My job is to keep doing this until I can no longer do it. So if you feel convicted by this, by those words, by all of this, then figure it out what God wants you to do. We all have talents. We all have things that we can do. You know that maybe you have means. Money. Maybe he wants you to donate to someone. Maybe he wants you to find a church to donate to. Maybe he wants you to stop donating to a church. Maybe he wants you to use that money to actually help a neighbor or a friend or someone you don't even know. Maybe he wants you to use that money because, hey, you're really good at cooking, so cook up some food. Go give it out to people. Maybe he knows you're really good at communication, so he wants you to use your voice like this. Or maybe you're really good at a specific type of communication and actually getting people together. That's a whole other skill. Mingling and getting people together, creating large groups. He wants you to do that. He wants you to write some good emails. Maybe he wants you to write a book. Maybe he wants you to do anything. Find out what it is. But like a clock with many different cogs in the machine, all doing different things, all different sizes, when it comes together as one, it has a much greater purpose. But by itself, doesn't do much. Or you might think it doesn't do much. Then you put it together with another one, and then put that one, another one, another one, another one, and then the chains and the lube and the oil and everything, and it has a grand purpose. So you may think that by yourself you're not doing much, but the Lord doesn't think that, because the Lord sees the grand view. He sees what it all means. So even if you're not in a big group that you know of, it all is still part of the big machine. Your one voice, your one thing that you're doing is still great. It's still part of greatness. But you can make it even greater if you can find a group. And then it expounds. It's exponential. Think of all the people that can be helped. And in yourself, you can be helped. And maybe that's also what he's telling you is, hey, you need help. Go find it. Talk to someone. Reach out. You need to help for whatever you need. There's groups that can help you. You don't have the money? Well, then talk to this person. Do this, do that. Whatever this help might be. And maybe that help is for whatever illness you have or anything that you're going through. Maybe it's a money thing. Or maybe it's you need help to do something greater. So he wants you to go talk to some people. He wants you to bring it up. And then you create a group that then changes the world. You won't know until you try. Maybe he wants you to do a bake sale. Maybe. Who knows? You are the one that knows. Because people are convicted of all different things, and it's no different here. That's why preaching on conviction is wrong, to say that your personal conviction is what everybody should do. Because it's a personal conviction. If God says that you can't watch CSI Miami anymore or whatever, I don't know. That's not been on the air for a long time, but watch a certain show. That doesn't mean that it's evil against God. It means that you have a problem. For whatever reason, that show's making that problem worse, and you need to stop. But there are preachers out there who will say, well, that show's evil and against God, and blah, 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 and you shouldn't watch it. But that's not convicting me, so why should I stop? But it's convicting that person pretty hard. But if what I'm saying is convicting you and you just don't know what that conviction is, like I said, every conviction is personal. Talk to the Lord, talk to the Holy Spirit, reach out. They will tell you, they will lead you. I can speak of personal experience on that. They've been telling me to preach for a very, very long time. I finally started doing it. Not very well, but I finally started doing it. I'm getting the voice out there. I'm doing something. And it's helping. It's doing something. And that's what we have to do. For blessed are the peacemakers. That is how we make peace. But we have to make it. They're out there making war. And they won't stop just because we don't like it, because we sit idly by. Just because we're not the ones making war doesn't stop it. We have to be the ones actually making peace. So go out there and make it. May God bless you, your family, and everyone that you love. May He bless this world and continue to bless it. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.